Anna from NHCSR here. I'm going to start sticking these field reports into the Serious Grower feed during the growing season to give you some real-time reports from our extension specialists in New England, New York, and the Mid-Atlantic states, maybe some of our friends to the north in Nova Scotia. Pay close attention to where some of these reports are coming from because we are covering a very wide region. Find photos on our Instagram page at Serious Grower and look for links to resources from extension educators in your region in our show notes. Reach out if you need help connecting with your local extension specialists. Wherever you are, we will get you hooked up with the right expert in your area. Each of these field reports will start out with the most time-sensitive reports of what folks are talking about out on commercial vegetable farms right now. I will then dive into maybe historical reports to summarize what folks were talking about last year, or a deep dive into some pertinent extension materials. And I will take care to specify when I'm talking about tunnel-grown crops, but otherwise assume I am talking about open culture. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, much of the Northeast region is still experiencing dry to moderate drought conditions. Many fruit-growing regions are reporting major crop losses to a late spring freeze during bloom. While the season has been a little delayed in northern states because of cool conditions, many people are delaying planting vegetable crops. Growers in mid-Atlantic states are very busy planting, and we are already hearing reports of cabbage looper and diamondback moth caterpillars on brassicas coming from Maryland. Looking at prediction models for cabbage maggot, the mid-Atlantic states are past peak flight, southern New England states are currently in peak flight, and northern New England states should expect adults to emerge next week. Depending on where you are, asparagus shoots might be popping through in many areas, and some growers may start noticing asparagus beetle adults causing chewing damage to spears. Common and spotted asparagus beetles are host-specific pests of asparagus. Both are very conspicuous, very colorful, I would say attractive beetles, but the common asparagus beetle might be the more problematic species because it tends to become active a little earlier in the season compared to the spotted asparagus beetle. In smaller operations or backyard plantings, hand picking is an option for management, but larger commercial operations may consider chemical control using a threshold of more than 2% of spears having eggs or more than 5% of plants infested with adult beetles after scouting at least 20 plants in 5 different locations throughout a field. Turning to onion crops, it sounds like areas of New York have seen their bulbing onion crops hit with some chill injury and are seeing areas of very high seed corn maggot infestation. Leek moth adults are flying in northern regions in New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, so refer to your local extension resources for more information about regional activity and recommendations for management. Allium leafminer oviposition scars have been observed in Maryland and New York's Hudson Valley region. So folks in those regions, as well as Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, should have their eyes peeled for those characteristic oviposition scars and refer to their local extension resources for more information. For a very deep dive, now might be a good time to discuss how to distinguish between different onion leaf diseases caused by fungi. Not necessarily because you'll be seeing symptoms now, but because many growers are considering their fungicide programs for the season. Distinguishing onion diseases can be tricky because many start out as small water-soaked spots, and you really should submit samples to your local plant diagnostic lab to confirm new occurrences of any of these diseases. However, you can gain some information by learning the differences in how these lesions progress. They can develop unique signatures in color, shape, texture. Botrytis leaf blight can start out as many small white sunken spots or flecks, and these spots or flecks could be mistaken for thrips feeding damage. However, I think thrips feeding damage appears as silvery streaks or stippling, which is caused by insects rasping the leaf surface, rather than sunken fungal spots. As those lesions progress, you may see vertical slits appearing in the center of botrytis leaf blight lesions, and the leaf looks kind of blasted all over. Stymphalium leaf blight and purple blotch can often be confused because both fungal diseases will produce large oval lesions with concentric rings on the stem, but stemphyllium lesions are typically more elongated, tan to olive color, and will lack the distinctive purple center seen in purple blotch lesions. As stemphyllium infections progress, you might notice characteristic dirty tips where the onion leaf tips look burned or necrotic with black asexual spores on the dead tissue. While normal leaf aging, called senescence, can cause the tips to turn yellow and dry, you won't see those little black spores that give it the dirty tip look. Also, stemphyllium causes leaf dieback that often includes yellow streaks extending in both directions from a central lesion rather than just from the top down. Stemphyllium frequently invades the tissue already damaged by other diseases, and it can be hard to manage in regions where fungicide resistance has developed. Downy mildew lesions are pale green to yellowish, elongated patches, and you can sometimes observe fuzzy violet-gray growth appearing on the lesion surface in the morning or during high humidity. Knowing this one can be important because it is caused by a water mold, technically not a fungi, so some fungicides may not have activity on downy mildew. You will probably hear more about this in alerts later on in the summer around July. Bacterial blights usually appear as water-soaked streaks that run down the length of the leaf rather than distinct oval spots. And knowing the difference between these lesions and those caused by fungal pathogens is rather important because a fungicide will do you no good if your disease is caused by a bacteria. I'm including a link to a YouTube video from Cornell's veg team's Stop the Rot project, which is a very fun name for a project. And that video shows different foliar symptoms of bacterial diseases of onions and how to distinguish bacterial diseases from other non-bacterial lookalikes. I'm also including a link to a resource in the show notes for commercial bulb onion growers who are working on their fungicide resistance management programs. Compiled by Christy Hopting of the Cornell Vegetable Program. This is a Cornell onion dry bulb fungicide cheat sheet for control of leaf diseases based on her work conducting trials in New York. There's also a tool available on NUA's website that can help you track your risk to botrytis leaf blight, onion downy mildew, and purple blotch through the season. You put in your planting date and you select the nearest weather station, and it can help you make fungicide treatment decisions based on weather models' predicted conditions. That is it for today. Let me know what else you'd like to hear more about, and thank you so much for listening.